From the land of lakes, this is 10,000 Takes. Brought to you by Minnesota Score Radio. Wally and Eric back for yet another week as we slice and dice the always busy, always topical, super saturated Minnesota sports scene. And Wally, we've reached that fork in the road on the sports calendar where all the other sports can exit off the interstate.
Oh, boy.
Here comes Bigfoot. The NFL has arrived, and they're going to Sasquatch everybody in their path. Yeah, we've got Major League Baseball pennant races, and we've got the Minnesota Lynx, and all this good stuff going on, but it's all about the NFL now, isn't it?
Are you ready for some football? Are you ready for your Vikings? You and I the other day went down the list of their games. Now, we usually make fun of people that do this, but I figured, what the heck? I'm going to throw it out at you. We did it on the radio the other day. You got them winning 5 games this year. You got them a 5-12 squad. Yeah. I'm not that much better. I got them at 6-11.
Yeah, and you can look in your crystal football now and think you know what's going to happen, but so many things come into play that you can't factor into the equation. First and foremost, injuries. Are they going to have more? They've already had some with Mekhi Blackman and J.J. McCarthy and Jordan Addison. They had a tragedy with Kyrie Jackson, the young cornerback. So, but the Vikings aren't alone in that boat. There's 32 teams. They're all going to deal with it. Which team gets hit worse? A year ago at this time, New York Jet fans were doing cartwheels down Broadway, right?
Aaron Rodgers.
We've got Aaron Rodgers. Well, 4 plays in, goodbye, Aaron.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you just never know. I still don't think even a fully healthy Minnesota Vikings team this year, I don't see it, man. I just don't. They'll score some points, I think, but defensively, are they any better than they were a year ago? I mean, they're missing some key pieces from a year ago. They're depending on some rookies. Their cornerback situation, they've signed a bunch of guys on 1-year deals. Not that they can't play, but they've never played together. I think if they win 7 or 8 games, that's probably going to be a positive.
Yeah, it's hard to see anything beyond that. I do like Stephon Gilmore on the defensive side at cornerback. Yeah. He's been to multiple Pro Bowls. He's a veteran. He can stabilize that group. They've also still got Harrison Smith, who maybe doesn't have the same physical abilities that he had earlier.
He's
in his
so
career,
smart.
But he's smart, yeah. And you get a Gilmore, you get a Harrison Smith back there with some of the younger guys. Cam Bynum certainly is a guy I think to keep an eye on. Josh Metellus is another guy. So, it's the NFL, and you just have no idea how it's going to play out. But they're going to have to, the O-line, keep Sam Darnold upright. This guy is not Patrick Mahomes. He does not move around. He doesn't have fleet feet.
What was your first clue?
Well, his last few years in the league as a journeyman. So if that pocket starts to cave in, that could be trouble. They're going to be minus T.J. Hawkinson for a few games. They're Pro Bowl tight end.
4 games.
I think there's a lot of pressure on the O-line, not just to pass block, but to be road graders and to be able to open holes for Aaron Jones and the rest of that backfield, which does not consist of a lot of guys now that Kenny Nwangu has been kicked to the curb. So if they can run it and allow Darnold to, pick his spots in the passing game, that could be a good sign for the Vikings. But a lot of heat on that O-line. I think they're average. Maybe they'll prove me wrong.
Yeah. The O-line makes or breaks your running game, makes or breaks your passing game. And as you said, are they better than they were last year? They were probably average last year. Is that a fair statement? And you had Kirk Cousins back there, a veteran quarterback who, knew his way around for at least part of the season. But we'll see. You never know. NFL, anything could happen, I suppose. But the other piece is you are in a division now with the Detroit Lions, who were extremely close to getting to the Super Bowl. I can't believe I'm saying this, but they were. A Green Bay Packers team where Jordan Love has them on the upswing. Many prognosticators are picking them to, if not win the division, certainly be right there with the Lions. And then a vastly improved Bears team with Caleb Williams at the helm. I know he's a rookie and he's going to make his mistakes, but you have teams on the upswing is, I guess, my point in this division. It's usually the Packers and the Vikings, the Packers or the Vikings. Now it's the Packers, the Lions, and the Bears. And where are the Vikings? We're going to find out in a hurry.
The Bears have been bad for so long. They've been able to stockpile all these high draft choices like firewood at a cabin, up north. I mean, they got to hit on a few, and they put some pieces around Caleb Williams. They've done a better job around him than they did with Justin Fields, in my opinion. So I expect progress from the Bears, but they still have to go out and prove it. Special teams is going to be huge for the Minnesota Vikings. It always is. This new kicker, Will Reichard, can he deliver in the clutch? Because the one thing we do know, even last year when the Vikings cratered, and the year before when they came out of the blue and won the division, they have a knack for playing in one-score games. That seems to be the trademark of Kevin O'Connell teams. So how are they going to do in close games? I expect it'll be the same Sunday in the Meadowlands against the New York Giants.
Are you on board with Kevin O'Connell as this quarterback genius that he is being portrayed as? I know that when Josh Dobbs was here, he guided him through, and he was in his ear telling him what, where, when, why, and how. But when Josh Dobbs was, basically when he was freelancing out there playing recess football, if you will, that's when he was at his best. Then all of a sudden, when they had to have him running the plays that they want and standing in that pocket, all of a sudden, Josh Dobbs wasn't very effective anymore. The Pastronaut was no mas. And so now you're looking at a quarterback that basically you have taken away the best part of his game. And, the fact that they do not like Jaron Hall, that tells you a lot.
Yeah, my concern would be, does Kevin O'Connell micromanage his quarterbacks? In other words, like you said, with the Pastronaut, just let him go. That's his game. That's when he excelled. When he came off the bench against Atlanta, and the following week he orchestrated another victory, and it was all kumbaya. Then the Vikings started to try to change him. I had heard before J.J. McCarthy got hurt, they were tinkering with footwork and things like that in camp. Now, I'm not saying you can't do some of that,
of course,
but he came out of a Jim Harbaugh system at Michigan. I would think J.J. McCarthy's probably fine. So I do wonder about this paralysis by analysis that may be going on in Egan.
We'll soon find out, won't we? Well, we're going to talk some more NFL coming up next. Former Viking great Chuck Foreman joins us.
All right, we are 10K Takes, your purple ticket.
Finding the ideal place to stay is important for business travelers. Lakeville, Minnesota is conveniently located off I-35, just south of the Twin Cities, with a variety of hotel choices. Lakeville offers convenient amenities such as shopping, walking trails, golf, and more. Our unique meeting spaces, historic downtown, live music, and over 60 dining options are sure to impress. Book your next stay in Lakeville and experience convenience, comfort, and quality. Find your perfect hotel at visitlakeville.org.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision. It's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Welcome back. The Minnesota Vikings kick off the 2024 campaign Sunday afternoon at the Meadowlands against the New York Football Giants. And say what you want about the upcoming season, but it's here for real right now. And joining us to talk more about the 2024 Minnesota Vikings and their chances to be potentially a playoff team. I'll throw that at you right away. Do they have what it takes to be a playoff team this year, or is this a rebuilding project in 2024?
I don't think it's a rebuilding project. I think, number one, they're going to have a pretty darn good defense. I think they got a quarterback that's just a bit that is not yet proven, but still, he's with a guy that develops quarterbacks, and I think this is a perfect opportunity for him to showcase his talent here in Minnesota, and I think they got the right people around him, whether it's the receivers, running back. The running back room's as good as any in the NFL. Offensive line seems to be better, and so both lines, offensively and defensively, they're going to allow the other guys around them to play better.
Chuck, what do you expect out of Aaron Jones, that running back that came over from Green Bay, and he's been very good. Do you like that O-line? Is it physical enough where they can road grade and then he can have a big year on the ground and even in the pass game?
The good thing is he's got escapability, he's a tough runner, and he's got speed. So he's not going to need a lot of room, but they definitely going to have to be a little bit more physical than they have been. We're in what they used to call the black and blue division. They used to used to be run dominant. So I think they made a good move bringing Aaron in. And so, like I said, it's going to be up to those guys up front to move him a little bit to give him the chance for him to showcase his skills. And that's basically what it is, because they can develop a running game that's going to open up everything else, and they can compete. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
Do you think they have to become more of a running team now that you've got with Sam Darnold and not Kirk Cousins and all the other factors that you threw in there?
Sam Darnold's got a great arm. He came in the league with all kinds of credentials. I mean, he's just been with some terrible teams. He hasn't been able to really showcase how good he really is. Now, a running game is always a quarterback's best friend. And if you can establish the run game, that opens up a lot for the passing game. So if they can establish that run game first, I think it'll give Darnold, Sam, a better chance to be all he can be.
Chuck, last season the Vikings dug a huge hole. They got off to a horrible start. They were at the bottom of the Grand Canyon, and they never really got out of it. This year at the Giants, then you host San Francisco, the NFC champs. Houston comes here. Very good Texans team. You got to play Detroit. You got to go to Green Bay. How incumbent is it for this team to at least get off to a 2-3, 3-2 start so you can get some confidence?
Well, they definitely got to get off to a good start. I mean, they can compete with anybody. There's no reason why they can't. I'm very confident in their defense for a lot of different reasons. I think they got some talent over there, and I just think their defensive coordinator, I think he's an aggressive kind of guy, and those guys kind of, when they play, they relate to the coach. And I know back when I was playing, they had the purple people eaters, and I know their coaches. His name was Jack Patera, and he was a go-getter too. So those guys reflected his personality, and I think defensively they'll be, if they're solid defensively and they come out offensively and do the things, at least try to control the run part of it. I think they can do some good things.
Well, it sounds to me like Brian Flores is even apologizing for some of his aggressiveness early on in his career.
Yeah, I don't know if he owed anybody an apology.
Well, he kind of did, though. I mean, he apologized.
I think they owe him an apology for what they asked him to do, was to tank the season.
Well,
and then that would ruin his carear. Now that's how I see that. So
no doubt, no question.
Hey, if you're not in the, if you're going to do it, if you're going to give it, you better be able to receive it. So I'm like, move on from that part of it. He's who he is, and that's a positive for us because we need that.
Speaking of Brian Flores, were you surprised that Tua Tagovailoa, the Miami quarterback? I mean, he went Rip City on him. He said he was a bad person. I don't know what to make of that, but it was not flattering.
Well, everybody's got their own opinions of people, and maybe he got his job, and he wanted certain things that he didn't see. And sometimes guys can't handle how coaches speak to them. You got to know. And he's probably one of those guys. You got to just kind of hold his hand and tell him, hey, maybe if you do it this way. Flores ain't that kind of guy. He's going to ask you, he's going to be right in your face and say, hey, look, this is what I want you to do. If you can't do it, then we're going to replace you.
Yeah.
So I guess you got to know how to read your players, but
yeah,
I was surprised that he came out like that because it had no benefit to him.
Right, exactly.
To be honest with you, he had just signed his contract. He moved forward. They got a new coach. They're doing pretty good down there. I think it was just an unnecessary comment.
All right. What concerns you the most about this 2024 Minnesota Vikings squad?
Oh, I mean, there's questions that got to be answered. Will that offensive line stay healthy enough to do what they need to do to give the offense the receivers the time that they need to, and the quarterback the time that he needs to find his receivers, and will they be able to block and give those guys that little space they need to run the football and their individual talents kick in? So, it's the bottom line is going to be what's up front that counts. That's
Chuck,
and then if they work, everything else will work.
curious as to what you think about Dalvin Cook with the Dallas Cowboys now, and Mike Zimmer is their defensive coordinator. Are those positive additions for the Cowboys?
I think it's a positive addition to the Cowboys, no question. Because I think Dalvin he was with the wrong team he was with the wrong team. He was with the right team at the wrong time, and now I think he's with the right team at the right time because I think Dallas is going to be a better fit for him. And we'll see. It has to wait and see. But if you ask me if he can still play, the answer to that question is yes.
Harrison Smith, obviously you're veteran in the defensive backfield. How important is he? Obviously, his physical talents at this stage of his career aren't what they used to be, but you played with some guys who played for a long time and were smart players, a la Paul Krause back there and guys like that. How much of a factor is that?
First of all, you saying he's not what he used to be, I don't see any change personally in what he did when he first came in and where he is now. He plays a position where, number one, he sees everything, he does everything, he's making all the calls, he's controlling everything, he's always in position. So I don't see a drop off in his performance. I just think there's a positive in everything he brings. So I disagree with that assessment, Mr. Wally.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see how it fans out as the season goes on. Chuck, appreciate the time. Enjoy your season watching your former team. I know you're pulling for them to finally break through and win a Super Bowl at some point.
I don't know if they'll do this. All I want to see them do is improve, and they could be a surprise team in the NFL this year. They really could be. They got a lot of good people in place. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Thanks, Chuck.
All right. Thanks, Chuck. He is Chuck Foreman, the former Minnesota Vikings great.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah, boy, that's for sure. Back with more here on 10,000 Takes after this series.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I love your earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
Finding the ideal place to stay is important for business travelers. Lakeville, Minnesota is conveniently located off I-35, just south of the Twin Cities with a variety of hotel choices. Lakeville offers convenient amenities such as shopping, walking trails, golf, and more. Our unique meeting spaces, historic downtown, live music, and over 60 dining options are sure to impress. Book your next stay in Lakeville and experience convenience, comfort, and quality. Find your perfect hotel at visitlakeville.org.
Welcome back. Minnesota scores 10,000 takes. You still on that Twins bandwagon?
Well, hey, why not? I mean, they're clearly smack dab in the middle of a playoff chase. Still have division title aspirations in the AL Central, and it's been a patchwork quilt for the Twins all year long. They've never had their core four on the field at the same time, with the exception of a handful of games, and yet here they are making a playoff push. So you have to give the team credit. And I still don't like these planned days off and things like that. But you know what? They're winning more than they're losing.
Yeah, exactly. And they're still in the hunt, regardless of what you may or may not think about the way Rocco has handled the lineup. But I think that the injuries to, specifically Byron Buxton again, and Carlos Correa again, and Royce Lewis again, and even Brooks Lee, their rookie standout. And now he's got that same disease, getting hurt.
Yeah, I'm in the club tub. I can't play for the club because I'm in the tub
Constantly.
Yeah. So.
It sure seems that way. And I just think that if they have a chance to make a real run, not just to make the playoffs, because nobody's goal is just to make the playoffs. Your goal is to make the playoffs and then win it all, right? You don't want to just take another half step and say, okay, yeah, we won a first round series or we got to the playoffs. I don't think that's good enough for this team. Do you?
No. I mean, based on what they did last October, the next step is to go deep into the playoffs and get to the World Series and let alone win it, for goodness sakes. If they get into the playoffs at some point, you're going to have to get by a Houston or a New York Yankees. They're kryptonite. I mean, the rubber meets the road there. But, are they built to beat those teams? I don't think so. But get in, we'll see. I mean, we saw it last year with the Texas Rangers and Arizona.
Right.
Both wild card teams. And the D-backs and Rangers played in the World Series, and Texas won it.
Are you fired up about the University of Minnesota football squad? They lose that home opener last week to North Carolina. And now, they got a couple more of these quote-unquote preseason non-conference tilts. And then what? These Big Ten games. I mean, USC looked awfully good in week 1. We know all about Michigan. This is going to be – they're going to be running the gauntlet. Iowa's a top 20 team. Wisconsin's going to be a good team this year. How are they going to play 500? I don't see them playing 500 in the conference.
Yeah, it was an opportunity missed against North Carolina, and you had the Big Ten kicker of the year last season, Dragan Kesic. Had an off night. There's no other way to spin it. He missed a potential game winner, although, hey, how about centering the ball up, Gophers, and having him kick it straight through the uprights?
Unbelievable.
Why the hash mark? Then he missed a chip shot earlier where it was a doink up the right upright.
Same hash mark, by the way.
Yeah, not a good loss at home on national TV. Maybe you lose recruits with that kind of a defeat. So they need to find a way to beat the rugged Rhode Island Rams and the Nevada Wolfpack, and then all of a sudden you're playing for Floyd with Iowa. That's an earlier game now because of this bloated Big Ten. And look, the only Big Ten team to lose a non-conference game week 1 was Minnesota. So they're the blight on the conference right now. They need to get their traction back.
Yes, they do. All right, one team that has some traction this early part of the season, or I should say late in the season, is your Minnesota Lynx. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, Cheryl Reeve, Nafisa Collier, Kayla McBride, all doing a fantastic job. And here's what I think. It's been all about Caitlin Clark in Indiana this year. Okay, for good reason. She deserves the attention. Angel Reese in Chicago, same thing. She deserves the attention. They're the modern-day version of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
Okay.
It has propped up the WNBA. I love it. Asia Wilson in Las Vegas. They're going for the three-peat. She's fabulous. The Lynx are flying under the radar. They're just a team. Yeah, I mean, Nafisa's a big name, but she's not like Clark, not like Reese, not like Asia Wilson. They're a team that may run the gamut and win this thing in the WNBA. We might have a 5th parade.
Mm-hmm. By the way, Team PWHL, they have a head coach now, but they still don't have a nickname. What in the world is going on in that league? Will you please nickname your team so we can buy sweatshirts and hats and jerseys and whatever else?
Who runs marketing for PWHL? Because you have let an opportunity go by now for over a year.
It's unbelievable. I can't believe that they continue this marketing, dumpster fire. All right. Speaking of dumpster fires, takes of the day are coming up next. You are watching 10,000 Takes. Stay with us.
Let your adventure begin in Lakeville, Minnesota. We have over 90 places to grab a bite to eat, and we're close to the Mall of America, Valley Fair, and the Minnesota Zoo, plus hotel packages and great rates. Visit Lakeville. We're serious about fun all year round.
I've been meaning to give you these for many years. I think they're perfect.
Maya?
Oh, I earring. Why didn't you try these?
It isn't just about vision, it's about care. Nobody cares for eyes more than Pearl.
10K takes on television as we wrap up yet another episode. And we want to give a big shout out to the viewers tuning us in on Fox 9 Plus. Welcome aboard. You're in the 10K Takes family now. And one thing we do here every week is takes of the day. We find out what your demeanor is. Are you an angry American, happy camper, grumpy guardian, soggy cornflake? What is it this week? What's got you all hot and bothered?
Soggy cornflake. Okay. Well, coming into this weekend's game against Rhode Island, the University of Minnesota football team was ranked 16th out of 18 teams in the bloated Big Ten. Yes, Big 18, call it what you want. And of course, that had much to do with their loss a little over a week ago to North Carolina at Huntington Bank Stadium. Now, that having been said, I don't know. Were you at the game?
No.
You missed that. Okay. Well, so the potential game-winning field goal. Gophers had a chance to win this thing at the end of the game. It goes wide right as time expires. And as time expires and as that ball goes wide right, the fireworks went off celebrating the victory for your University of Minnesota Golden Gophers. Or were they celebrating the loss? Or were they somehow backseat driving and cheering for North Carolina? I don't know what, but everything was screwed up for your Gophers. So the only team, as you mentioned earlier in the show, to lose an opening week game in the Big 10/18, your Minnesota Gophers. And how did they celebrate it? With some fireworks right as the game ended. Perfect.
Wow. You can't make it up.
No.
Let's check the mood meter. He's a sarcastic Sam, throwing
Somewhat.
more shade on Dinkytown. It was a rough night for Gopher football.
I don't know what to tell you, man. They did it to themselves.
Yeah, now they got to spend money on new fireworks that they hopefully can light off after a win over the Rhode Island Rams. All right. My take of the day, as we mentioned earlier in the show, the NFL is back. And this thing's like a snowball going down the mountain. It becomes an avalanche by Super Bowl Sunday. It just rolls over everything in sight. That's great. I know everybody's all worked up. They're foaming at the mouth for the National Football League. But hey, NFL, Shield, can you back off a little? First of all, I can't stand Thursday Night Football. We'll never like it unless it's on Thanksgiving. But that bad idea is here to stay, unfortunately, because Amazon is ponying up millions to run the games.
Yes, they are.
But now we have Friday Night Football, at least in week one, this Green Bay-Philadelphia matchup in Brazil, stealing a home game away from the Eagles. Come on, that's weak. We're going to have Black Friday games. We've got games on Christmas Wednesday this season. I mean, enough is enough. What made the NFL what it is was that old MO of less is more, right? They used to play on Sundays and Mondays, occasionally on Saturdays late in the season, and then you would have Thanksgiving Thursday games. Well, the NFL now has diluted its product, and you better watch out because at some point people are going to say, I don't need to watch tonight because there's another game on tomorrow. And I just wish the NFL would get rid of these gimmick games. Who in New York City, which bean counter working for the NFL thought Friday night opening week game between Packers, Eagles, two pedigree programs in Brazil was a good idea?
Where they can't breathe the air because there's fires burning from the Amazon and everywhere else right around the stadium.
Yeah,
boy.
Stop, NFL. Just stop.
Yes.
We know you're popular.
Less is more. You had that part right.
Yeah. All right, on that note, let's FedEx out our thank yous. One goes to David Weld, also to Paul Langfellow, Rocky, Chuck Foreman, for Wally. I'm Eric saying so long. This is 10K Takes Your Sports Ticket.